Maybe I'll play us in.
Yes.
I also like just noodling around with chord progressions. I don't have any songs that I've written yet, partially because I cannot sing, but I just like figuring out what sounds good together. Well, I like the E minor 7. Or E7. It's kind of a melancholy sounding thing.
I think it sounds beautiful, but I don't know what any of the things are called. Like I have no background in music or musical theory or anything like that. So, but I feel like No Pants here just got its little jingle.
Maybe so. We'll have to write some words to it.
Maybe we just improvise them every time.
That sounds about right.
You know, I forgot to post that we're going live now, so I'm just going to do it. Yeah. All right. Now the universe knows. They can come find us if they want to. So Nick, thank you so much for joining us on No Pants here. One of the original No Pants cast members, or at least as long as I've been there, probably longer since you're one of the Austin people. You mentioned to me earlier that you had Curiel for your level 1 teacher. Did you know anybody else in No Pants before joining the group?
Yeah. Well, I knew Curiel, I knew Bree, because we had been in classes together before. I knew Kristen, because we had been in classes. I think I'd met Brandon once or twice, but we didn't really know each other that well. Let's see. It's so hard to figure out exactly what I've been in with who. I'm sure you had that moment where you're like, I know this person. Were we in a show together? I can't remember.
Yeah, I have a very similar feeling to that, like about the Hideout. Like I have my own improv theaters that I've been to as like reference, but I want to see this place where like everybody met and has done shows and like started taking classes and stuff like that.
I hope it'll still be around for you to come visit sometime. They're in a precarious situation with their building, the space, which I really hope they get to keep because it's a really nice space. They've put a lot of work into decorating it and making it a really great place to perform.
Yeah, I think like losing art venues is such a heartbreaking side effect of so much of what's going on right now can be described as heartbreaking. But you know, for purposes of this conversation, like losing art venues is just like that's what we need right now. I feel like it's the upliftment and the creativity and the spirit.
Yeah, definitely. And there's been a little bit of effort put into trying to keep those art venues alive. Like there's been grants and things, but I don't think it's enough. I think there's a lot of places that are just going to close, and it'll take a while for the art scene to bounce back. But I think it will bounce back.
Yeah.
Because people always need art. People always want art.
Totally. And what made you choose improv as like an art form or creativity outlet for you? Like, what do you love about improv?
So I think, like I was saying in our before chat, which, by the way, if you're watching this, there was a chat before. Shh, secret. I think I had a lot of signs that I should have been into improv, and I just ignored them all until I came to Austin, and it finally hit me over the head hard enough that I joined. So when I was a kid, my parents and I would watch Whose Line Is It Anyway? I love that show. They have so many talented people on it. I was like, oh, I want to do that someday. And then in college, I went to see a couple performances by the college improv troupe, and I was like, that always seems so fun. And then I was in Chicago and never saw a single improv show while I was in Chicago. It was completely not on my radar. I even had a friend in Chicago who was into improv, but I was only there for like a very brief amount of time. I mostly lived far enough away that I didn't get to go see her shows, and so I just completely missed being in the most like the biggest improv city in America. But once I finally got to Austin, I saw this. Uh, I think it was like a flyer or something for improv classes at the Hideout Theater, and they offer these free classes for anyone who wants to come and to see what it's about. So I took one, and I was like, "Yes, this is amazing. I love this. I want to do this." I think one thing I really love about it is the creativity that it brings out in me, and the creativity, like the creative side that I can see in other people. Because my job is kind of a, I know, more like logic and thinking oriented job. I'm a computer nerd. I'm a programmer, and so I really like how improv lets me stretch that creative storytelling narrative muscle. And I'd love to see how other people do that too. Like other people's crazy ideas, funny characters, what they do when they're just going all out.
Yeah, I love that. Like you mentioned that it like improv is a really cool way to see that side of people because you so often see like very particular sides of people.
Yeah, yeah. I think even when you're good friends with someone, unless you're working on some creative thing, you don't necessarily see the creative storyteller side of them. And I love seeing that side of people. I think the stories that people like to tell lets us know a lot about them. And I love seeing that people have stories that mean a lot to them or that they think are really funny or really meaningful. And all of those stories come out through improv.
Yeah. And just like what is their brand of crazy? Like in their craziest character, like
Exactly.
what does that even look like? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Where people are just coming up with the wildest stuff they can. What what is the kind of thing that they're reaching into their brain? What are they pulling out?
Yeah. There was a woman in my like level A through E at Second City who was the best at like aliens and robots. And like she would just come out like when were like, you know, flesh eating monkeys on your mind? I don't even know. But like all of a sudden they're in the scene, you know? I loved it so much. I was like, must learn that skill.
Yeah, with improv, you get to find out who thinks about exactly what they would do during a zombie apocalypse. It has just a whole big list that they can rattle off at a moment's notice.
Totally. And then once you've heard that list and you know that like that they thought about that before, you feel like you know them. You've seen a little bit into their soul.
Yeah, yeah, you get that connection with them that you wouldn't really get many other ways.
Yeah. I love that line that improv walks sometimes where you're like, is it the person answering this or is it the character answering this? Because it feels so real.
Yeah, I mean, all characters are partly us. So, like, you can't have a character who has none of you in it because you wouldn't know what that character would say. And so, the kind of characters that people come up with, I love doing what you said, like trying to guess, is this something that someone thinks this character would do, or is this something of them that's coming out through this character?
Yeah, totally. Do you feel like going to improv and using like and being creative versus at work where you said is not as creative, like uses different parts of your brain or different skills or like what does that do for you?
Oh, absolutely, it does. Uh, Although there is some overlap. I think improv and storytelling in general just exercises that kind of creative narrative storytelling muscle where you think, what would be, instead of what makes the most sense, what would be the most affecting thing to happen? What, this character is having too good of a time. What could we rip out from under them and challenge them? Or this character has been beaten down so much. What can we give to them that will turn their life around? I think that is a different kind of thinking than in engineering, where you're like, okay, what is the best thing, and we're just going to do the best thing.
Yeah,
So
creating
there's,
art.
yeah, exactly, creating arcs. But then there's also like a problem-solving element to storytelling too, because when you're trying to think of those things, what needs to happen next in the story? What can we call back from previously that would be really satisfying to see resolve? It is kind of a almost an engineering thing. You're slotting these elements into place to make a satisfying story. Except instead of one correct answer, there's a lot of correct answers, and anything could work.
And everyone gets to decide with you most of the time. Like you
Yeah.
might have an idea, but then someone else has a different idea. You're like, my whole vision now can't be. I'm on board with your vision, whatever it is.
Yeah, it really makes you think on your feet and uh, create things in a collaborative way that you can't really do through other creative outlets. Like I love creative writing. I love writing. I love stories. But improv is a very different thing because a story sometimes can surprise you. If you're like, well, you know what? I think a character would do this, and I hadn't thought of that before, but that's just what they would do. But when there's other people throwing their own ideas into the mix, you're constantly surprised. You're constantly having to adapt, and I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I I think I used to come into like a scene with more of an idea of like I feel this way or like and I'm just going to that's going to be my thing. And then one teacher gave me the mantra of like I adapt. And then I realized like it creates great like arcs and emotional roller coasters and stuff to just change it up and be affected. That was really cool.
Yeah, I think the idea of being affected is something that uh, even from the very beginning was a big thing that teachers have emphasized. Like I said, I had Carriel in early levels at the Hideout Theater, and I
Mhm.
think that's one of the big things that he emphasized in his classes. I think that's something that's so useful. Uh, being part of the world that you're creating with someone else and really caring about it. Even if that reaction is something wild and over the top, as long as it's coming from like this authentic place of this character really cares that the Martians are coming to steal their cheesecake. That's a big deal for them, and you have to be authentic to that.
That's messed up, man.
I know.
Messed
I,
up.
I made that cheesecake for a reason, and these Martians, you know.
Steal everything.
I don't know if I can handle.
They stole my cat. I don't know if they ate it. Hi, Fluffy.
I used to have 10 dogs. Now I only have 5 dogs.
That's a trap. So how have like these improv concepts like yes and be affected, care about like the world that you're in, um, spilled over to other parts of your life?
The idea of yes and, of course, has definitely made an impact in the way that I respond to a lot of social things, uh, especially like we were talking about this earlier, like at work. If someone proposes something and I think something else is better, I won't say no, I don't like that. Let's do this. I'll say, yeah, the way that you proposed it would be good for these reasons, but I think those reasons also apply to this. And here are some other advantages here. Just spinning things in a more positive way that uh, is more empathetic, I guess. I think improv has really helped me be more empathetic as a person, uh,
Mhm.
and it's really improved like my social skills in general, which is part of the reason why I joined actually, because I feel like I struggle with social anxiety sometimes and worrying about how do I interact with people? How do I be a human? I don't know. Uh, but I feel like I've gotten better at being a human through improv, where I am not always a human. Sometimes I'm a robot. Sometimes I'm an alien.
I love that. And yet it all makes you a better human and it sounds like a human more comfortable interacting with other humans.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like one of the things I've learned about human nature is the a lot of times people contradict in conversation. Like it's sort of this default thing. You'll be like, the weather's really nice, and they'll be like, yeah, but it might rain later because they want to add in information. Like they want to be of value in the conversation. And I feel like when you do improv, you kind of learn that like if everybody's just throwing ingredients that they're creating instead of discovering, like just then you kind of get like nobody's really talking to each other. And I kind of
Mm-hmm.
feel like one of the things that improv training can do or like has done for me is it like breaks down, you sort of break that open and you're like, what is this person saying? What does that mean to me? What is happening beneath the words? Like it really begins to fine tune a lot of those things.
Yeah, definitely. I think I've noticed the same thing. you have to, especially in a scene that's oriented around some kind of game where you're all trying to heighten the same thing, you have to figure out not only how am I interpreting all of the things that have gone into the scene so far, but how is everyone else interpreting it, and what are they likely to bring that I can reinforce and help with? I've talked to a lot of people who've said that like they love hanging out with improvisers because improvisers will heighten things and will pile on and support because that's just something that we're naturally taught to do. Uh, Heighten a game or reinforce something that wasn't quite clear. I think it really gives you a sense of like positivity in an interaction when someone wants to help reinforce what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know a fair number of improv people and I love them all. And I just feel that no matter how different other things in our lives are, like we can connect and joke and be real on a very easy level. It's sort of like a lot of times things like social anxiety or shutting people down by saying no or not really listening to them sort of like stand as roadblocks in the way of.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very supportive environment. I've been part of a few different shows, like at the Hideout Theater, and apart from that, and I think everyone who I've talked to has just been so incredibly supportive and just really they care so much about how everyone else is doing, and always putting like the players before the show, making sure that everyone is comfortable with things that happen, talking about boundaries and consent. I think the improv community is really, really on top of that in general.
Yeah, and really wants to be.
Yeah,
You know, even if sometimes like people make mistakes or what, when I'm in an improv group with people, I can really feel that everybody means well.
yeah, definitely.
They might
I
not
think,
have a good sense of like what's funny on that topic because they might have like pushed it too far or done something wrong, but they weren't doing it from a sense of like let's actually be mean and make fun of that. They're kind of feeling out how to be funny almost, or like what's
yeah,
relatable, like what is usable, what information here is usable, what information makes people feel bad, what can I do with this?
yeah. I think the vast majority of people who are involved in improv are very open to change in that way. Like saying, like sometimes, yeah, we do say things that it turns out are like not a good joke to make, or they rely, it turns out, on stereotypes that are punching down. And I think improv people, a lot of the time, and especially people who are kind of in charge and who are trying to set the tone for a community, really care about finding and correcting those
Mm-hmm.
and moving, whenever something like that happens, moving it to a place where everyone can feel comfortable and still have fun.
Yeah, yeah, and then everyone really wants to do that.
Yeah.
That's cool. I love that. We have a question from the chat. Kristen wants to know where you lived in Chicago.
Uh, I lived in, so I was there for an internship. So I live reasonably close to the river. Uh, I think on the east side, I think, to the east of river kind of goes like this way. I'm bad at geography. Kristen, if you're watching and you're like, I don't know what that means, I'm very sorry.
The east side of Chicago is Lake Michigan, so that's the only side that there isn't. But yeah,
But
how many years ago was that?
it was while I was in college, like 4 or 5, I forget exactly. I think about 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And improv was not even on my radar at all when I lived in Chicago, which
Mm-hmm.
I wish so much that I had known about improv and that I was into improv while I was living in Chicago, because then I could have seen shows from all of the amazing theaters there. But even though I had a friend who was in Chicago who did improv while I was there, I was like, yeah, I I don't know. I'm gonna do other things.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
Now I'm kicking myself. Like I was there. I could have done it.
I'm like you, improv had to beat me over the head. It was like, come and do improv. And I was here for like a couple years before it really beat it in properly. So I totally understand that. She also says that you are a master at crafting rich narratives.
Oh, thank you. You know what? Kristen is another person who's really awesome at crafting narratives and coming up with exactly what needs to happen in a scene.
Yeah.
There's a few people that I knew in No Pants before uh, joining this, and I'm so glad that everyone I know in here got in and has been doing shows, and it's been so awesome to work with everyone.
Yeah. And it's
Everyone I
really,
knew before continues to be awesome, and everyone that I've met, I found out is awesome.
yeah, I love that. It's really interesting too that a lot of people like pass through Chicago at some point. I know Kristen lived here at some point and lived here for a while. You lived here for a while. And like not everyone did improv when they lived here, but now because of the great wide lockdown, we can all like meet each other and connect and all of that.
Yeah, that's one of the few positive things about everything being in lockdown. Because
Mhm.
a lot of people in No Pants I wouldn't have met. I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't have met a lot of people without lockdown, and I wouldn't have been part of some shows that I've been part of without lockdown. So there's some positives. We also get to find out how to do improv in a little square,
Yeah.
which opens up some opportunities. Like you can move it around and you can do stuff like changing your angle that you couldn't really do in a stage. And you can do stuff like snap cam. Yeah, you can get in really close.
Mhm. I love it. um, it's funny because I feel like now, as a result directly of lockdown, I'm sort of in like this online worldwide improv community where like I'll be in a like I'm in a show right now with Rhiannon and then I'm like, oh, Rhiannon and Nick just finished a show together. I've never met Rhiannon. I've never met Nick. Like two of us have been in different countries this whole time and like but now I can see like sort of like all I feel like we're all kind of rising up through the improv ranks together where we're just like more improv, double down.
Yeah, it's so cool to be part of stuff for like LA and Baltimore and the nursery in the UK. There's just so many different theaters. Like Improv Comedy Bangalore has been cooperating with the Hideout a lot, and they're over in India. Their time zone is so different from ours,
Mhm.
but we still get to do shows together. It does involve some people staying up pretty late. I've stayed up late. I know other people who stayed up late, but I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I think I've been really spoiled. Like I just got a thing asking about my availability and like some of them were in the middle of the night and I was like, "Oh, I've not had to be the middle of the night person before, but like I'll do it this time because like yeah."
I've never stayed up till like 3 or 4 a.m. I know some people who have. That's respect to them, but I cannot sleep. I need my sleep.
Yeah, I love sleep.
Yeah, I know people who've been doing like classes literally all day, just bouncing around the world, and that's so cool.
I love it. It's really cool. It's really cool how it's like a community of fun, supportive people. And if you're watching and you don't do improv, you should try it because they're really nice.
Do improv, sign up.
All right, cool. Well, any other fun stories or things to share that come to mind or thoughts or ideas? Because we're interested.
Uh, like we just said, if you see improv shows and you're like, "Ooh, that sounds fun." See, at the Hideout Theater, they always end every show by saying, "If this looks like fun, it is." So yes, improv is so much fun. If you don't do it, please sign up for a class. There's a lot of free classes, and you will have so much fun.
Yeah.
Improv has really expanded my social circle, and I think it's really been a thing that's kept me in touch, especially over lockdown. I get to hang out with people from around the world and still maintain these social connections, even though I'm not actually seeing anyone in person.
Yeah. I love
So
that.
thank you for running the show and for being part of No Pants. It's been so cool to get to know you and everyone through this.
Likewise. And thank you for coming on No Pants here and for sharing all your improv stories with us. And I think I think it's a really great time because I don't know about you, but like lately when I am around humans, you know, appropriately, like sometimes I really feel like I forgot how to human and interact socially. And I think if I didn't have improv, that would be a lot worse. And I think part of the like message that I'm getting out of like this conversation is that if you have trouble interacting with humans or feeling even good about that now because we've been on such a break, improv and improv philosophy is a really great way to
Yeah, for sure.
make that feel smoother. Yeah, cool. All right, well, bye world. I
Bye.
think we're up on our time here, so I'm going to end the stream, but we're really glad you watched. And I don't think I have a guest next week. Or I don't have a guest some of the weeks in October, but anyway, watch my Facebook. I'll